Hey, good morning. Big day today, Gutcheck. And I tell you, this workshop is a big one for a lot of reasons. One is because it's very unknown. We say gut check, we say leaky gut syndrome. We're going to talk a lot about that today, and also how to do stuff about it if you're dealing with it. I think a lot of you, because this is more of an epidemic than ever, I kind of relate this to diabetes and pre-diabetes. People don't even know what's going on with them. They just don't know, and nobody's really explained it to them. But what I'm talking about is really some hardcore science, and most doctors are getting aware that this really is something that is creating a lot of problems in people. And it's not just the gut. Can I tell you that? It's more than that. See, having a leaky gut doesn't just create bad digestion. It does. And so if that is something that you're dealing with, I'm excited for you, because not only are we going to help shed light on this, but we have 2 different action steps to get you on that healing journey. And they're 30-day challenges. And what I love about doing this in December, and so give yourself a round of applause for being here December 9th on a Saturday morning. I applaud you. That's pretty awesome. Most people that I tell you, we used to never do workshops in December. It's kind of like, just don't do that, because people aren't focused on their health. This is what a lot of mentors would tell me. They're just not caring about it. On top of that, they're not going to do what you talk about. And, so we never did it until last year. We actually did our very first one. And now, 10 years into practice, it's our second time we do a workshop in December. But we had such a good response last year, and that's why we're doing it again. These are things that you can do, and I really encourage you to do this. Don't wait till January 1st, like most Americans do, to get serious about your health. Don't do that. Don't be that woman, or don't be that guy. Start doing things now, and you'll be thriving through the holidays. You'll be thriving through, and you'll be staying with it. Like most people, they'll quit January 2nd with their resolution, right? They just do. So this is really going to kind of give you that motivation, that inspiration to take it to the next level through the holidays and get your health already on the right track. So I'm just thrilled for that. I want to also have some fun with you. Can I give you guys, do some raffles, give away some stuff? Can I do that for y'all? Okay. I like participation. You guys know me. I like it. So I'm going to ask questions. I want you to raise your hands, answer me. That feeds my excitement on what I'm talking about today, because it's gut health. So this can be kind of a funny topic for people, but we're going to, it's going to be a really good time, I think, for everybody. So if this is your very first workshop you've ever been to, can I get a raise of hand? Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I want you to see something. If you have been to 5 workshops, can you raise your hand? 5, okay. Now keep your hands raised. If you've been to at least 10 workshops, I'm getting blinded. If you've been to, okay, we're 15 workshops. Get close. Okay, we're still there. Come on up, Mr. Ken. 15 workshops, that's awesome. I got something for you, dude. I got something for you, buddy. All right. Very good. Because that's awesome, and my whole part of this is lifelong learning. Keep coming to classes. You might be like, well, why is he coming to 15 classes? Well, he can probably tell you even better than I can. Just you just don't stop learning. There's always new stuff. There's always new information. There's always ways to apply these things. And in 10 years, I'm going to tell you something. We've learned a lot in 10 years. We're doing the latest stuff with patients that 10 years ago we just didn't have the information or the access to it. So keep coming to classes. It's always about lifelong learning. And I tell you, my patients that come to classes and classes, it's kind of a funny little thing of correlation. They get better results and better results and better results. That's big, right? So when we're talking about leaky gut, I love this picture because it really kind of exemplifies how your brain and gut talk to each other. It's not just, it is neurology, but understand something that's really big about your gut is it has a direct line, unlike any other organ system, to your brain. You might not know this. As a matter of fact, when you are formed in your mommy, and you're just a bunch of cells. For 2 weeks, you're just a bunch of cells replicating. But then, in week 3, the very first thing that forms is what? What do you think? Nope, not your stomach. Close. Your brain and your spinal cord. That's the first thing that forms. It's called a notochord. It's not what it looks like when you now, but it's a rudimentary spinal cord. Now, understand why I'm saying this. You have these embryonic brain cells that are in that, right? And now they are so powerful, they actually, your spinal cord doesn't just tell your spine how to hold yourself up straight. It literally forms the other organs in your body, and it positions them. It tells them where to be. Like your heart needs to be in the upper left chest cavity, right? Your colon needs to be down here, and there needs to be a bunch of this viscera stuff to hold it in so it's not flopping around. Like that's what your brain does, and that's what your nerves do. But something that people don't know is that once your rudimentary organs and they're forming, they start to lose those embryonic cells. But the only system or the only organ other than your brain that still retains embryonic cells is your colon. And they call it the second brain. So there's a big connection between that. And I love the picture. It's like they're talking on the phone. That's seriously how it works. But it's not just your colon. It's any organ in your body. Brain is always talking to it, right? It's telling it how to work. And the colon, though, talks back to the brain differently than any other organ in your body. It has impacts on your mood, on your thoughts, on anxiety, on depression, on stress, on just mood stabilizing, right? It has an impact on the brain. So we're going to get to that. It's called something called a feedback loop. They both are in conjunction with another. So the two things I want you to take away from this, and I love this because with what we're talking about, it's not only going to change your life, but I know, if people out there knew what we were talking about in here, we'd be cleaning out hospitals. I'm telling you. You guys know what I'm talking about? If you've been to a couple classes, you know this, right? It's true. People knew what we were talking about in here. So my first thing is the information that you're going to learn, apply it, take action. Say action. Take action. Because I'm going to tell you something. It's great to learn information, but information does not change people. It doesn't change your life. Action changes your life. You got to act on what you learn. Does that make sense? You have to. You might not know it 100%. Don't let that stop you. You act. Ask me questions. I'll help you in any way I can. You know that. But make sure you act on that. And then secondly, get people that you love and care about that are out there, sick, suffering, taking drugs, on surgeries, or about to have them, and bring them into here. This is where they need to be. They need to be learning this stuff. And again, that's the biggest component that we want to share with you is do those two things. We can start changing the community that we are in at a grassroots level. It's so big. Now, these are things that you might not really associate with bad digestion, but something that's really big is at Gateway Chiropractic, we want to take the common, symptom approach. We don't do that. We want to look at whole body, whole wellness, big picture, because these are things that, and I like to add to this, it's not just these things. You can throw in, depression, anxiety, ADD, like brain fog, ADD, ADHD, arthritic issues, joint inflammation, autoimmune problems. You can lump that in with all these others when it comes to leaky gut syndrome. So it's very vast, and people are really confused about it. So let's kind of dive into what is leaky gut. And I'm going to get into that in just a minute so you'll totally know what that is and what that actually does to people. But the one thing I want you to take from leaky gut right now is that it is a process. It is like being a diabetic. It did not happen over a night. It took sometimes 10, 15, 20 years to get to this point. So it's going to take time, but if you do the right processes, you can start to heal. Even if it's been there for 15, 20 years, you can start to reverse this process. And in a lot of cases, heal it up completely. But how the problem here, because you think about this, 70 to 80% of your entire immune system is located where? In your gut, in your digestive tract, throughout, from the throat all the way down, to the butt. That's your intestinal tract. I know. Now it's a party, right? Now it's a party. We're really talking about, some uncomfortable, fun stuff, right? It's okay. I love you guys. But it's what it is, and it's housed with, this good bacteria that is in all areas of your body. And it's not just the gut. You have good bacteria that's all over the body, but heavily in the digestive tract. Now, why that's so big is a bad gut is going to equal a weakened immune system. Does that make sense? It's going to automatically make it weak. And that's hard for people to get. On top of that, Poor nutritional status, so vitamin deficiencies. Again, another big thing. If you are low or deficient, if you've had blood work and you have these deficiencies in vitamins, if you're deficient in fatty acids, you're deficient in vitamin D, you're deficient in vitamin B, if you have these deficiencies in vitamins, that's also another kind of a red flag that there's something gut-related that is going on. Think about it. If you're deficient in vitamins, you're not absorbing them in the gut, and you're not using them, right? Or show up in your blood work. So that's a big, kind of a red flag. Another big one, if you know somebody, so it's not you, it's somebody else, right? That does a lot of high carbohydrate intake. They eat a lot of carbs, right? They have a lot of carbs and they have low fat. That's the standard American diet, and that destroys your immune system, that destroys your gut over time. It really does. That is a lot of sugar. And obviously, the more sugar in your body, the more you're feeding the wrong stuff, and the more inflammation you are causing, so it's not a good thing. Lastly, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. That's really big. So you're having this, especially like Candida or H. pylori, these bacteria that actually can create harm when they're more... what's the word I'm looking for? When they proliferate. You should have them in your body. It's not a mistake they're in there. However, when they kind of get out of control, that's when problems happen. Does that make sense? It's out of the balance. Inadequate sleeping. Ooh, this one's going to hurt, especially right now, right? During Christmas time. Anybody finished their shopping yet already? Nobody has? It's okay. I'm in that boat with you. Thank goodness for Amazon Prime. Yes. But inadequate sleeping. Big, and this is one that people are really struggling with these days, especially if you have little kids. This one affects me a lot with my little kids because sleeping has something that is, I dream of sleeping. It's so great. Just don't get it like I should. So this affects me. So I'm in the same boat with a lot of you, specifically with digestion. I tell you, there's a couple things I'll get in as I talk. Two things have changed my life with digestion. The first one was 13 years ago when I started actually getting adjusted. That was the biggest change in my digestion I've ever seen. And then recently, the last 2 years has been the second biggest change with digestion. And it's applying a lot of this stuff I'm sharing with you. And it's something that's really helped me out in my health, in my life. And I'm excited for you to learn it and try to make it as easy as I can. And you don't have to suffer for 2 years kind of like I was doing to figure out what's really the best stuff. So we kind of streamlined that. So I'm going to get off on some soapboxes here. Just bear with me. It's going to be good. And then poor oxygenation, lack of exercise, especially during this season. People sit a lot more. We're not working out. We're not exercising. It's very cold outside. You don't want to get out. I get it. I do. But you still got to move, because that can create a lot of issues with intestinal motility. Digestive distress, if you already are, again, another factor, and it's kind of a commonality one, if you're just not going to the bathroom right. So what's right? So if you eat once a day, you should go to the bathroom once a day. If you eat 2 to 3 meals a day, guess how many times you should go to the bathroom? 2 or 3 times. I told you, man, it's a party now. Like, we were really talking about some weird stuff, right? But that's true. But think about this. If you're eating 2 or 3 times a day and you're going to the bathroom once every other day, or worse, once every 2 to 3 days, there's a problem with the motility. Your gut is not getting rid of waste. And if you think about like your garage, and I actually messed up this week, so this is on me. I totally forgot yesterday was trash day at our house, and I did not let out the trash. And we have quite a bit of trash in our garage. My wife was kind of mad at me that I didn't take it out. So we got all this trash that's still in, and I got to wait a whole nother week. So I'm going to have a whole lot of other trash on it, too, to get rid of it. So you think about your intestinal tract and that trash, that waste, it just keeps building up. And you don't want all that buildup in your house, right? So, yeah, I'm in the doghouse for that. So unbalanced stress hormones, this is big, too. Because if you're getting to that point where, and a lot of people are, they're anxious, ADD, anxiety, depression, bipolar, there's different moods, and obviously there's a problem going on with that. There's a very big correlation between that and there's not enough serotonin being used in your body. And that is a gut problem. At the core, it is a gut problem. So, again, big stuff. So how this works, this is a feedback loop like I was talking about. Brain has an impact on the colon, and the colon also has an impact on the brain. So let's start with the brain first. If you look at this slide going down, the brain has an influence on motility, meaning your colon squeezing the waste out. Well, you want that working. You want it working well. Your brain has a direct impact. It tells it how to do it, right? It tells it how to do it through your nerves. Secretion of the food particles, the vitamins, again, that is brain related, or regulated. And then also nutrient delivery, so actually absorbing the right nutrition out of the food you eat, which is something we want to do, right? We want to get the good stuff out. Brain, through the nerves, do that through the colon. And then obviously microbial balance, so that is the gut bacteria, the flora. Again, that regulation is brain controlled through the nerves. I apologize if this is a little heady right now. It is going to get simpler, okay? But I got to tell you some of this stuff to where it makes sense as to why these protocols we're going to do. Is that okay? Can I get a little heady just a little bit longer? Just a little bit longer, okay? Now, the gut has again, one of the only systems that actually will impact the brain function. So the gut will do this. It has this impact. It has an impact on mood and behavior. And you might notice this. This is if you eat something that you shouldn't eat, it affects your mood. And you might not know this, but your spouse will, or a good friend will, that you might be cranky, you might kind of come off as like, what's going on? Well, a lot of times that's from your gut saying, ugh, I don't like this, or I don't like that food, or you bloat after you eat. Stress, anxiety, neurotransmitters, specifically dopamine and serotonin. Those are the two bad boys that we're going to talk about. If 95% of your serotonin is made in your gut. Now, that is so important that you know that because serotonin is a mood stabilizer. And you would think, because again, we all think brain with serotonin. We think it, but only 5% of that is made in your brain. 95% of the serotonin is made in your gut. That might have blew your world there. That blew my world when I learned that. That's huge because people's mood is almost not solely, but a majority dependent on their gut. Just digest that. That's big, right? So the two-step solution to actually fixing leaky gut or getting your digestive system back on track, it's not just looking at your colon. It's not just that. That's half of it. You know what the other half is? Fixing your brain. So tell me, work with me. Say, fix the brain. Fix the brain. Fix the gut. You got to do both. That makes sense? It's a whole body, a whole system approach. If you don't do that, because think about this, in medicine, they're not doing this. They're not. You know what they're doing in medicine? If somebody has anxiety or depression or they're having ADD or ADHD, they medicate them. They medicate them, put you on the drug, which will be a false, because it's synthetic, like SSRIs for depression. So what happens is that drug, it gets you hooked on the drug to get your serotonin and not your gut. And it actually will just shut your gut production down totally. You get totally dependent on the medication. And that's how it's hard for people to get off those because it's kind of like a narcotic. It's addictive. They have labels on, warning labels. Very addictive medication. But it also shuts off the gut. So people that are on those SSRIs, guess what they're not doing very well? They're not going to the bathroom very well. That is a big side effect. It slows down your bowel production because you're not doing serotonin. That's one big thing. So you got to fix the brain, right? How do we do that? Well, we got to rebalance brain chemistry. We got to increase our sleep. We got to decrease our stress. That's tough. Can I tell you that? That's tough, right? Now, I'm not going to be the person that says, we're gonna, to completely reduce your stress. No, you're gonna have it. I love you, but it's life. You're gonna deal with stress every day. But the difference is, can we get out in front of it so we can handle it better? If we can handle our stress better, not only is that better for your spouse, it's better for your quality of life, but it's better for your health. It's way better for your health, neurologically and hormones. And obviously, get your power turned on. You got to reconnect, or you got to get your brain connected to your body better. That's with chiropractic care. Specific chiropractic care will do that. It's just a monument of studies that show better brain focus, better connection between brain and body. And then you got to fix the gut. You got to repair the leaky gut. You got to rebalance the gut bacteria. And how do we do that? We do that through these essentials. We call them the 5 essentials. Can somebody name all 5 for me? I got a prize for you if you can name all 5 essentials. Anybody want to take a chance at that? Yes, ma'am. I'll put you on the spot. All right. Told you I have goodies, you guys. I have goodies. This is how you do it. You use the 5 essentials. Mindset. So this knowledge, again, it's you need to know why you're doing what you're doing. That's number 1, Number 2, nerve supply. Got to get the brain connected to the body. You have to do that. That has to be one of the first things you do. You have to put good food in your body. That's kind of a given here when we're talking about gut health. You got to increase your lean muscle, your oxygen. You got to get more oxygen in your body. It has a huge impact on your health. And then you want to get toxins out. We do want to detox. You do these. Nobody's perfect at all of them. Don't even let me get up here and tell you. I tell you what, 14 years ago, I did the 5 unessentials. I did every one of those things completely awful. I would put my health in college up there with anybody as far as just terrible health and terrible habits. I had a bunch. So don't even let me get up here and say like I had to do this stuff perfect. But you want to get better at it, and you definitely can. But that's what we're told. We want to get into these things. So fixing the brain, huge. Stress and poor sleep will wreak havoc, unlike anything else, on your brain chemistry. Stress and poor sleep. Those are things you want to, because it affects, again, serotonin and dopamine. So again, just for your knowledge, serotonin is a natural mood stabilizer, and it has an impact with 3 major systems in your body. 3, well, actually more, but the 3 big ones that you want to know, serotonin with your sleep, serotonin with your appetite and your weight regulation, right? And then serotonin also has an impact in your digestive system. So wouldn't you think that neurotransmitter, that's a powerful, that's a bad boy, right? We want to make sure that is working and it's balanced in our body. Dopamine is another neurotransmitter, is very important as well. And this is the one when you do a good workout, you might not have wanted to work out when you started, but once you got done, you felt good, right? You felt better. You felt like, yes, I did it. Why? Because that's dopamine. You had an increase in dopamine. Dopamine it gives you that focus. It also gives you that sense of productivity, that sense of motivation. You feel good. You're motivated to do another workout the next day because of dopamine. So you want both of these bad boys to be in balance, right? So that's where things get out of balance. So in your packets, the very first page, if you're a guest, is your second page. But I have this 7 days to improve sleep and decrease stress. Now I'm going to tell you something. What this is retraining your brain at night to calm down, and it's retraining your brain in the morning to turn on. That's what it does. And each of these are a little step you do each day. But I got something really cool I want to show you. I have this iPhone, and now mine is not the 8, or mine's not the S, or the X, sorry. See, I'm so untech savvy. But I tell you what, I don't know if the new models have this, but this one does. On the side of this phone, there's this really cool button right here that if I hold it down all the way, it actually powers off the phone. Did you know that? I think the new ones have it too. But it's the coolest button. I'm serious. And I don't know if some of y'all know you have this button on your phone, but it's the coolest button. That's the button that needs to be pressed at night. Turn it off. So many of us, and I've had a bad habit of this too, especially before kids. I would, me, you guys email me. I answering emails at midnight. Drove my wife nuts. So with the right threatening from her, I was able to start this process. It's really good. And so that is something like if you are on your phone all the time at night, you are wiring your brain to stay awake and to keep processing. You're not calming it down. And so that's not good from a lot of levels, but it also is not good because it actually increases cortisol, increases that stress hormone in the body, and that's not really good for your body or your adrenal glands. That's not good. So something you want to start training yourself, 30 minutes, 40 minutes before you go to sleep, turn the phone off, turn any white noise off, turn the TV off, and really start calming your brain down as you're getting ready for bed. What you'll find out pretty quick is that your sleep quality will be better. You'll actually get into REM sleep faster because you're turning that off. See, a lot of you, if you're on your phone, and I noticed this too, I would sleep and I didn't feel like I slept, even though I did sleep. I wasn't getting REM sleep because I was on my phone all the time. So turning that off is one of the key steps to, it's simple, but it's so big. We forget and we just get consumed in life. And again, we get away from these essentials very fast. But in the morning, this is also tough too, because the morning ritual should not be buzzer going off and you have timed your schedule to where you have gone to the minute of how much sleep can you possibly get before you get up and in a hurry grab your clothes on, grab some lunch or don't even eat breakfast, and you're running out the door to do your day. Two things with that. One, your hormones are crazy during that time frame. Man as well. You're going to be cranky, you're going to be moody, you're not going to be focused. And when you get to work, you'll be less productive. They've done the studies on this. You will be less productive. And that's going to create a lot more stress in your body. Something that I've had to get really good at, especially in the last 10 years with being in practice. Can you guys believe it'll be 10 years in 2 days we've been in Fort Worth, which is really cool. But over those years, just to handle, and I say this, can I say this with love? To handle you guys, a nice sense of it. I really have to prepare my brain in the morning. So I get up very early. I do anyways, even if I wasn't exercising, I get up early. And I either meditate, I read the Bible, I read research, I get myself ready just mentally, and it's 20, 30 minutes. I'm just kind of in that state, and then I exercise, and then I get ready, and I'm listening to inspirational stuff coming to the office, because I know when I get to the office, if I don't do that, I'm whooped by the end of the day. Adjusting everybody, answering questions, getting bombarded with questions just a lot. Some people ask me questions every day, which I love, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I'm like, do you come to workshops? It'd be really good for you to come to a workshop. But if I didn't do that, there are some days that I'm not able to do that, and I feel like I just got whooped by the time I'm done with shift. I'm beat up mentally. So it's something that's really helped me get mentally prepared for the day. And I encourage you, if you don't do that, start doing that for a week. Watch how much better your day is at handling that stress. See, half the problem is we're not prepared to handle stress of the day, and we wonder why we don't handle stress very well. So you can handle it better by prepping your brain in the morning. So that handout, every day, do those steps, and in 7 days, you'll already have these new habits you're doing, and you'll feel better. Mentally, every day, you'll feel better and less stress, or a better way to handle it. Another one of the best ways to remove balance, or to get balance in the brain, is getting adjusted, getting the power turned on. If you're a patient, you hear me say that once or twice, right? I say it every time I adjust you, just in case you don't pay attention, but I do. And you might, because you've all at one point have asked me, what are you talking about, getting my powers on? And I'm like, oh, let me explain that, because I'm excited to talk to you about that. And seriously, it is. It's your brain is getting reconnected with your body. Because when your spine is out of position, it's constricting nerves, it's interfering with the communication link. So seriously, we adjust you. It's like the fuse box to your house, baby. When that thing is off, doesn't matter what you do to your room. You can put new light bulbs in, you can vacuum it, you can put all this cool stuff in your room, but you're not going to have any power until you turn the power on. Getting adjusted is turning the power on. And you know this because you, especially that first couple times you get adjusted, oh man, I love those days, because it's like people just don't know what it's like to actually have some balance in their neurology. And you get on the table and you're just like, oh, I just don't know if this is a place for me. I don't know why am I here? I don't know, all this stuff. Because there's so many things go through people's minds, I'm sure, in the office. And then we adjust them. And then it's just like, okay, I want to go take a nap now. Like everything kind of calms down. What is that? Well, the same stress hormones like cortisol that get, when your spine's out of alignment, those hormones you get stressed. They get very high. When you take the pressure off, when you remove the interference, the hormones, they start to balance. And seriously, it balances as soon as you get adjusted. And you notice that shift in your neurology, your mood, your behavior, and you see yourself calming down, balancing out. It's kind of cool, isn't it? A lot of you are shaking your heads because you've gone through that. That's what it is. Neurologically, you want to turn the power on. That's why getting adjusted is the vital thing with brain. Leaky gut. What is this leaky gut deal? Is it a fad? No. Is it something that can affect me? Yes. Am I going to know it right off the bat? No, probably not. But this will shed light on it. If you look at the slide here, So think of this as the intestinal wall, the outer layer of the intestines. And so if you look where it says GI inflammation, that is the inside of the colon, and then down below is the outside. Now what you're seeing up there, over the course of time, you think about chronic stress. That leads to GI irritation and GI inflammation. So when those walls, which are they're tight like this normally, the walls are tight, but when you get inflammation, and there's a lot of ways that create that, they start to do this. They open up slightly, and then you start seeing these little gaps. And that's what you're seeing up there in the middle where the arrows are. Those are gaps between the walls that should not be there. They're opened up. And things like food particles, toxins, medications, drugs, pathogens, because there's a lot of people have parasites these days. A lot of people do. They don't know it. They have bacteria, bad bacteria, organ disease. You'll start to see these particles start to seep through. Oh, and not partially digested food. If your colon is not digesting food well, if it's inflamed, it's not going to digest food well. And that undigested food particles is what kind of seeps through those holes. Kind of weird, kind of crazy, right? But when it does that, the first stage in leaky gut is food intolerances. So you start to eat something like bread, and then it feels like you ate a tire and you can't digest it, right? I mean, that is, or you're, or you're eating food and you're sweating, or you're eating food and you're drained, right? It drains you're like, what's going on? Yeah, you're having an allergic reaction to the food you're eating. That's the first stage in leaky gut, is food intolerance. You just can't eat that stuff now because your body, over the course of the years, is attacking anything that resembles that food when it gets into your bloodstream. Now, if that's not addressed, and most people don't address that because they just think, well, I just don't need to eat bread. I'm okay, right? And they keep, they eat bread. They don't eat a lot of it, but they still eat it. Well, the second stage is immune system issues. Now we'll start seeing things like, oh, man, I'm starting to break out in rashes, in my skin. Or I eat something and I feel like, you eat something and then like the next morning you wake up, you feel kind of like you're kind of hungover, like you feel just blah, or you're fatiguing a lot. You're like, why am I so tired? What am I doing? Well, that's the second stage. Now we're affecting the immune system. Or you're starting to see increase in getting sick and having these more serious type of reactions after you eat. Well, if those two things are ignored, which they typically are in most people, you get to the third stage, autoimmunity. That's a big one. Okay, now we're talking about the body is so ticked at all these things in the bloodstream, it's trying to kill it, trying to attack it. But these food particles, they resemble, especially like wheat. Wheat can resemble, synovial joint. The same molecules in wheat are very closely to like synovial joints. So one of the big problems with rheumatoid arthritis, having joints being attacked, is because the body literally thinks that the joint tissue is the food particles. So it's attacking everything. The body's confused. That's why it's called an autoimmune disease. It's confused. It's attacking itself. And so that's where you get to these things, and it spreads. So leaky gut affects the whole body. You understand, it's affecting the immune system. That is systemic. That's all over your body. That's what it is. So brain, for instance, depression, anxiety, ADHD or ADD, or whatever word you want to put in there. That's what it is, brain fog. For the skin, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, acne, hives. Colon, constipation, diarrhea, IBD or IBS. They got so many names for this stuff. It's crazy. And then adrenal fatigue. That's a big one, fatigue. Rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, these uncontrolled, crazy, sensation headaches, frequent colds, food sensitivities. Again, root origin, it's gut. You got to start healing that up. And again, do you or somebody are they dealing with arthritis, allergies, depression, eczema, hives, psoriasis, chronic fatigue, or fibromyalgia? You want to tell them about what we're talking about. Start with your gut. Look at your gut. They'll look at you crazy, and you go, look at your gut. Or tell them to watch this video because we're recording it. Tell them to watch it. It'll shed light. So how do we fix the gut? Okay, well, kind of like the brain, we got to start removing interference. So how do we remove interference with your gut? We remove foods and particles that are going to create problems. Does that make sense? If you have a fire going on in your house, you don't want to keep putting gasoline on it. That's not going to help. You want to put as much water hoses on the fire to put it out. So I'm going to show you, we want to increase. You want just one water hose. You want to have like 6 or 7 to put the fire out. So there's a few different things we want to do is putting the fire out. But the one thing we don't want to do is keep putting gasoline on it. So we want to remove sugar and processed foods and rancid fats because those 3 things are like putting gas on a fire with somebody that has leaky gut, right? We don't want to do that. We want to replace the bad stuff with good stuff. See, a lot of you, and I find this with people, especially that are wanting to make a nutrition change, but they've never done it, they think, I can't eat anything. I can't eat any of this stuff. Well, you're just so used to eating bad food, you don't know what good food is. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that, like, there's a plenty to do. You just have to get in that habit. So you want to, fresh vegetables, very low sugar foods, lean protein, quality fat, high fat. Matter of fact, a lot of this is going to change dynamic with people. We're going to talk about actually increasing fat intake. Something called ketogenic eating. Very good for brain and gut function. Very good for it. Rebalance with probiotics. We got to put some good bacteria back in the body because it's being overrun with the bad stuff, right? We want to do those things. And I love this because where do we start? Well, there's all these different things out there. You hear this hearty and whole food and whole grains and eat well. This is an eat well plate. This is from the USDA or the food pyramid. This is based off the food pyramid. So what do we got on this that creates a problem? Well, we got fruits and vegetables. That's good. That's a good component. But that's about the only good component on this plate. What we don't want to be doing is putting in the other, which is just as much carbs and bread and rice, potatoes and pasta as the veggies. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Gluten is in all that stuff. That is something that's very epidemic, gluten intolerance, gluten sensitivity. If you have leaky gut, it's almost a given you're going to be intolerant or very sensitive to gluten or full-blown celiac disease. But that is not what you want to consume. That's going to add gas to the fire. You don't want to be putting in conventional dairy and conventional milk. Again, those things are high heat in nature. They're not loaded with good fat, they're loaded with bad fat. Again, fuel to the fire. Obviously, the trans fat, the high sugar processed foods, we don't want to put any of that in our body right now. The meat and fish, if it's from a clean source, yes, but just conventional beef, that's inflammatory to the body. So again, you're seeing how you follow this, you're asking for leaky gut. You're going to have issues. I promise you will. So, okay, if that's not the answer, how about a hearty meal? How about a big old deal of spaghetti, right? Because that, like Mama used to make, right? That's good. Yeah. So you got a ton of gluten, you got a ton of carbs. That's going to turn into sugar. That's going to, again, inflame the gut. Okay? Hearty doesn't mean good. Hearty means you're going to be in trouble. On-the-go eating. Because you know what? Darn it, I just got to eat something. I got to eat something. I'm at work. I can't get out and make my own food. And again, we talk about prepping, say prepping, so this doesn't happen to you. You see what I'm saying? You got to actually plan this. But yeah, French fry, no nutritional value to that. You have the buns, which have gluten for sure. I don't think that's organic beef. But you see what I'm saying? Like people eat that and they're like, okay, I just got to get something in my body. Oh, and then we have the hearty breakfast. It's from Denny's. So if you go to Denny's, I apologize if Denny's is your place to be. I love you. But look what we're eating for breakfast. You got eggs. Again, we're not even going to get into the source of this, but you got your pork, you got all your hash, then you got these pancakes, which are sugar, gluten, high carbs. There's high carbs in the hash. You have the syrup, because you just couldn't get enough sugar from the pancakes by themselves. Let's put the sugar on it, the syrup on it. And then you have coffee. I assume that's coffee because there's sugar right in front of it. I don't think it's water. I'm not going to put sugar in the water. We're going to put sugar in the coffee. So you have all this stuff bombarded like this. Like you shouldn't eat for a week after eating this. You should fast. Seriously. So, and then the last one, we call this the Widowmaker meal, right? Not the Eat Well plate. This is the Widowmaker meal in general. This is Bojangles. This is fried chicken and, all that fun stuff, biscuits and rice and hot sauce, because good grief, that's going to destroy your intestinal tract. So we talk about 2 brains, 1 body. Remember, what we do to the brain affects the gut. What we do to the gut affects the brain. It's going to affect each other, so we want to fix them both. But just, I think, some really cool facts. It might be tough to see on this. On the recording, it should look a little bit easier. The big stuff you want to see is the neurology. On the left, you have a brain, you have a spinal cord, you have the nerves that come off, and those are all the nerves that run the GI system. You guys see it's vast? It's quite a bit of stuff. It's not just one nerve, it's multiple. But the biggest nerve you see is at the very top. It's actually labeled, it's called the vagus nerve. That nerve starts right here on the top of the neck, and it goes all the way down. It's called the wanderer, longest nerve in your body, most powerful nerve. It runs all the way down from heart, lungs, your stomach, all the way down to half your colon. It communicates with that many areas of the body, right? And it communicates back. The colon communicates back. Well, at the brain, it has 85 billion neurons. See, 14 years ago, that's the only area that would have neurons that we were taught. Science has changed in the last 13, 14 years, which I'm sure they're being taught that now. But now we know, well, there's 500 million neurons in the gut. Remember, it still retains those embryonic brain cells. That's cool. That's really cool. 100 different neurotransmitters identified in the brain. You have 40 neurotransmitters identified in the colon. And again, the brain produces 50% of your dopamine. The gut produces the other 50%. But the serotonin, again, that always wows me. 5% made in the brain, 95% made in the gut. That's big. Now, let me give you some cool facts. The way your gut gets that serotonin to your brain to use, do you know how it does that? Somebody answer me. How does it do it? The answer's up here. Raise your hand. I got a prize for you if you can tell me. The answer is literally on this slide. How does your brain? How does it do it? Through your spine. Come on up here, Miss Gloria. Yeah. I got some real cool stuff. I got some bars. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Very good. Through your nerves, through your vagus nerve. That's how it gets it back to the brain. Isn't that cool? That's why you want to make sure the brain is talking to the body. I think that's huge. So step one, how do we start to nourish our immune system? Well, we talked about putting in good bacteria. There's ways you can do that. Probiotics is an easier way for most people just because it's you want to find a good one, which I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But it's also time effective. You don't have to make it. But if you have some time, this doesn't cost you hardly any money. You can make your own fermented foods. And to two things that'll happen. One, you'll actually get more probiotic strains in your body than if you did probiotics like in the capsules. You'll do more this way. And so you get a little bit better bang for your buck. And all it costs you is time. But that first vial, that is shredded cabbage in what's called whey water. That ferments that cabbage and it creates that healthy bacteria. And you would actually drink that. The carrots, that's also in whey water. Again, it ferments the carrots. You eat it, you're getting fermented food. You've heard of like kombucha. This is kind of not 100% kombucha, but it's similar principle. You're fermenting it, right? It's nourishing the gut. That third one is shredded beets. Again, you want to make sure your beets are organic because they're usually GMO. But shredded beets in, I think it's vinegar. And then on that last one, pickle juice. And on that last one, that is salted water, and then that is carrot slices, radishes, and onions. But you ferment the food. And you ferment it and you eat it. Now, if you've never done fermented food, never done kombucha or any of that stuff, and some people don't, the first couple of days, you're going to be a little bloated. You're gonna notice that. Yeah, that's fun. So don't down a bunch. Kind of do this in steps. Do a little bit. Gradually get your body used to it. Because when you put the good stuff in, it's going to fight the bad stuff to get the balance. So that's where the bloating comes in. It's okay. It doesn't last forever. But just some people are like, well, I drank all that. They drank a whole deal of kombucha. You shouldn't do that if you've never done that. Just drink a little bit, right? Just drink a little bit. I think that's big. Step 2, remove the immune system downers. Huge. You want to get the trans fats out of the body, the processed foods. Those wreak havoc on the immune system and the colon. The second thing is conventional. Now, if you go raw, you can do raw dairy. That is cultured. There are healthy probiotic strains in raw milk or raw butter or raw cheese. That is fine. This is not that. This is what most people eat. The Kraft, the conventional, the pasteurized milk. See, think about this. Do you pasteurize breast milk? No. You would lose all the nutrient benefit and all the probiotics in that. But we're drinking pasteurized cow's milk and we're thinking that's good. You want it to be raw. Same principle. If you do that. I don't. I do like almond milk or coconut milk. I just like it better. I just don't like cow's milk. But just there's options, right? The sugar, that one's kind of serious, kind of obvious. Like, let's don't put sugar in the body. Let's don't do donuts and all that fun stuff. Let's do that. But the last one, the grains, this is big, especially with gluten. This will fire up the colon. Again, huge stuff. We want to remove wheat, breads, pasta, even rice. When you go out to eat, this confuses people. The rice that should be gluten-free typically is made with wheat, like a wheat as a base when you're out eating. So again, if you're out eating, ask for a allergy menu. Really get specific with this because they hide it in foods. This used to really get me. And I'll give you an example. I love Terra, Mediterranean Grill. I love it. And I used to eat the rice there, the saffron rice, which by itself is actually gluten-free. But it's not at Terra. They mix it with a wheat base or a wheat sauce, and it tastes, you guys know if you've been to Terra, it tastes so good, right? Well, it's wheat. And I would always feel really bad after I ate the rice. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, there's no gluten. But there is. I finally asked the waiter, and I'm like, dang it. So those are things that would get me, and it just ticked me off because I'm like, well, so you have to ask. Okay, you just have to ask. Keto power, you got to nourish your brain. The reason ketogenic works is you're actually making most of your calories, most of your food intake is coming in the form of fat. Now, we're not talking about bad fats. We're talking about healthy fats. So if you don't know what that means, we have a really cool nutrition book right there on your way out. Grab it because it'll explain everything you want to know about what healthy fats are and which fats are not healthy. But you're going to be, and the recipes that are in the book are really, not 100%, but they're very close to being totally keto because you're getting these healthier fats you're putting into your body on a daily basis. But what it does, the research is out there, it shows that the ketogenic eating helps with reducing inflammation in the brain. I think that's really big. Inflammation in the cells in the body. It calms that inflammation down, but it also is great for the gut. But it calms the brain down. That's why somebody that's having like types of mania or dementia or Alzheimer's. We did a brain workshop as well. Well, what do we want to do? Increase healthy fat. Same principle. We want to calm the brain down by increasing that healthy fat, or it's going to be inflamed. So how do we do that? Well, these are brain-nourishing foods. Raw butter, raw cheese, your avocado oils, coconut oils, raw nuts, grass-fed meats, your wild, salmon, wild fish. Healthy whey protein, that's a big one. Most people do a protein, but most people don't do a good protein. It's just the way it's manufactured. When you go to a manufacturing plant and you see how these things are made, it will trip you out. It really does. So one of the ways that I want to talk about is something called grass-fed. We actually have two, but it's grass-fed whey. And the reason, what you want to look for in a whey protein, there's a couple things. Number one, you want to make sure it's not like refortified, it's not high heat pasteurized or processed. What does that mean? Here's the easiest way to determine if it is or not. If you have whey that is an isolated form of whey, it is high heat process by definition. You're isolating the natural form of whey into an isolate form for faster, like delivery into the body. Now, on some people would like that, but understand what you're giving up when you do that. You're giving up probiotics, you're giving up digestive enzymes if you're not doing a concentrated whey. So you want to make sure, I think, a concentrated whey, you get the best benefit from all of that, okay? A second thing I think is really big is how, where are the cows, because whey is from cows, how are those cows being, sourced and raised? Most wheys out there, it's just conventional beef. So you're still getting, cows that are fed grain, not grass. You're still getting cows that are, given antibiotics. You're getting cows that, some of them still doing the bovine growth hormones. You're still getting those things in those cows. That's the whey protein you're consuming. I think it's best to get it from cows that are not fed any of that are grass, raising, free grazing on that, and they don't have any chemicals or stuff in there. And one of the proteins we carry is the grass-fed whey. It actually contains all of those things. That's why I really like it. There's a couple other wheys out there that are good, but at the same time, even a brand that I like on a lot of levels, Garden of Life, they still do isolated whey protein. And I'll tell you why. It's cheaper to do that on a manufacturing end. Does that make sense? It's what it boils down to. And you make a little bit better profit off it. We have a perfect plant protein if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, which we love you just as much if you're not a carnivore like us Texans are. But on top of that, with the perfect plant protein is really cool because you're still getting a good amount of protein, and it's all plant-based. It's like hemp and chia seed proteins. I actually do a scoop of both in the morning. Berries in it if you want, and you actually blend that up. That keeps you full. Like, it's a meal at that point. And after you work out, it's always the best time to take your protein in. For kids, again, because my son, we actually do shakes with my son. But another thing that's really cool is we have ways to get these probiotics, the vitamin D, the omegas, into children. And we have these two things for kids. One is the kids' probiotic powder. That's an awesome way to get it into your children if you have little kids. It's tasteless, it's odorless, it's just a white little powder. It's a little bitty scoop. And I put it in my son, his we call it a sippy cup. We put it in there. It's not a sippy cup. It's an actual like thermos thing, but I have a 1-year-old. It's all sippy cups, right? So we put it in there, and then I put the shake in, and I shake it up. He gets his probiotics. He didn't even taste it. He didn't even know he's doing it, but he knows there's vitamins in there. But with another thing, we have the omega and D3 because you get the healthy fats and the D3 into the body. I think this one's really cool because it's a liquid, but also it is a thicker liquid because it's not like cod liver oil, but it's thick. Now, I love this because here's a good way to, again, get it into your children. If they don't like to take that thick oil, an easy way, you just dilute that in some water because it's a strawberry lemonade flavor. And if you dilute it, it just tastes like strawberry lemonade. So real easy way, just dilute it in water, kids down it. But they're getting healthy fats. They're getting, and again, everything's, organic and whole food based nutrition there. So great with kids. Get their digestive tract and their brain right off the start working really well. Those are more of the essential foods. Now, supplementing, when we talk about supplementing, it's always what's the word I'm looking for? We're not trying to treat the disease here. We're trying to replenish what has been very deficient for a lot of years. Makes sense? There's a whole different process involved. So that's why these certain things are going to help rebuild the intestinal tract. So the first one I want to talk about is D3 and probiotics. Now, for an adult, does somebody want to tell me, and raise your hand, according to the Vitamin D Council, what is the minimum amount of vitamin D? They call it international units, or IUs, the minimum amount that an adult should be taking daily. Miss Maria. 5 what? Come on up. You won. I got you a prize. You are absolutely right. Did you guys hear? She said 5,000 IUs. That is the minimum for an adult. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one. 5,000. So if you're deficient in D, guess what you need to be taking more than? You got to be taking more than 5,000 to get it up. So if you never had a D test, get a blood D test. You want to be between 70 and 90. That is the optimum zone. And there's so many, gosh, I get a whole other talk on that, but there's so many reasons you want to get into that zone. Immunity, hormones, energy, bone health, and then also, but one of the biggest things is thyroid and immune function when it's that high. If you have a D level that's 30 or 20, you need to be taking a lot more than that. Email me, I can show you. We do that all the time with patients. We can get that D up pretty fast. Another thing cool about this, because you've heard, well, if you don't have vitamin K, you can't absorb the D. Oh, some people are shaking their heads. I love you guys. You guys are doing your research. Here's the thing. Do you know how vitamin K is made in your body? Through your gut. So guess what you need to make that vitamin K? Good bacteria in the gut. One of the biggest things, Bacillus subtilis. That's the fun name. That's the big one that makes it. That's in this. So you're going to get your vitamin K because you're putting the good bacteria in there to actually make it, right? So that's why it's combined with probiotics. So you get a better absorption rate on that. And it's got 10 billion per capsule. So you get a good amount of probiotics in that. Very big. The GI, this one does 4 things. And that when somebody says, I'll recommend it, and they're like, well, what does it do? I'm like, well, it reboots your small intestines. That's the short version. Here's the actual technical stuff. It's got 4 different components. It's got clove, thyme, oregano oil. Now, those are natural antibiotics. What they do is they go in there and they will clean out like H. pylori and candida. So they're designed to do that. The other big thing, the lysozyme, obviously, it also addresses that issue. It attacks the bad bacteria, eliminating their presence. Lysozyme is the molecule that's in, I think they want to get it from chicken eggs. Like it's on the shell. It's called lysozyme. And that actually, they've done studies on this, and it actually will kill off that bad bacteria. Again, this also has Bacillus subtilis, mother of all probiotics. It helps that it inoculates, it puts good probiotics in the small, that are really found in the small intestines. It's targeted probiotics. And then potassium gluconate. This actually helps hydrate the mucus lining of your colon. You want that. You want it to so what is that? That's this blue-gray layer. That's the mucus lining. Because again, that also is there for protection and to help aid food absorb nutrients. But you're looking, see the gap that's missing in the top right? That's somebody that has, again, they're in that leaky gut. And so you're seeing some stuff seep through, like a big old, like bacterial cell or something is seeping through the bloodstream. So you want to have that mucus layer, and you want to start repairing it. People that have leaky gut, their mucus layers, they don't have much of it at all. So potassium gluconate does that. Something else that does that is L-glutamine. Now, if you are exercising, or if you've been in that industry, or you like to work out a lot, you probably know about glutamine because it's really great for athletic performance. It's really great to help you recover your muscles. It helps prevent the muscle wasting. It helps rehydrate the muscles. However, L-glutamine has a huge function on your gut. It helps with making more mucus. It helps with repairing the lining of a damaged intestinal tract. Oh, and which is going to help with better bowel movements. So again, like I said, this is a party now. Like we're really talking about like the real stuff. But it's really big. It has a big effect on there. It can actually, studies have shown that it actually helps with healing ulcers and leaky gut, but acting as a Band-Aid for protection from further damage. Now, on this, your normal serving size, anywhere between 2 and 5 grams of glutamine is kind of what you want to be putting in your body on a maintenance level. This one is 4 grams is one serving, but you're going to see with leaky gut, you're going to need to put more in there because the gut needs more of that right now, right? It's under stress. Very big. Detox system, obviously you want to get stuff out of the body, you want to get these toxins out. And we have a 2-part detox system. The first one is the body detox, is the cell detox. You take that right when you wake up in the morning, and it has the precursors to glutathione like N-acetylcysteine, L-glycine. And what that does, that basically it cleans junk out of cells. And then the body detox has the activated carbon, which is a high form of charcoal that helps bind those toxins, and it gets them out of your intestinal tract the next day. And so you do that at night. So you do 1 in the morning, 2 caps in the morning, 2 at night, and you're drinking a lot of water when you do that. Because remember, activated carbon, think of it kind of like in terms of fiber. You want to drink a lot of water. That way you get this stuff out of the body. If you don't drink much water with that, it can kind of like fiber. If you eat a lot of fiber and you don't drink a lot of water, what happens? Yes. So you don't want to do that. You want to get a lot of water. So if you don't drink much water, you're going to be drinking a lot of water doing that. But this is a detox that's designed, it's not a harsh detox. You won't even know you're really on it when you're doing it, and most patients stay on it. It's designed to be daily, but a lot of patients that we have, they don't do it necessarily daily. They'll do a month on, a month off, a month on, a month off. So you can rotate it as well. Very, very big. So here's the current food pyramid. So if you look at it, it's mostly like the biggest component is all the carbs at the beginning. We don't want to do that. That's the standard American diet, or we call it the SAD diet, because it is sad, right? Look at that. Fats and oils, a little bit of fat. Low fat is what it is. Another version of that, the one I like to show you, this is more of a ketogenic diet. Most of your consumption, fat, healthy fat. And then moderation, proteins, but a good amount of protein as well. If you exercise a lot, these numbers change a bit. It's about 50% fat and then about 40 to 50% protein. And then you get about 5 to 10% of the greens. But look how much sugar you put in. Yeah, that rocks your world, doesn't it? It's tough. It's tough. But when you do it after a week, because you'll have those cravings for a week, you'll start feeling good. You'll start feeling better. You won't have those harsh, hunger pains. Sometimes people have those mood swings. You won't have that. I put in magnesium as well. I think this is a really good, because magnesium, I just think in general is really good to take because it's an electrolyte. A lot of people are deficient in it, but magnesium has some really good effects on the digestive tract. It just kind of calms it down. If there's an arthritic issue, if there's stuff like inflammation, it helps reduce inflammation in the body. If you do a lot of exercising, again, this is really good to do as well. I do this at night. I think it's best to do it at night, like a teaspoon at night. That way it kind of calms the heart rate down a little bit. It has a lot of calming effects on your body, which is really cool. But also colon specific, it does calm the colon down. I think that's really big. We also put in some healthy gut healing recipes. Now these are like bone broths and broths. These are things that create the good bacteria in the body. It creates that good culture of it. If you've never had bone broth before, it's pretty awesome. Like, it's very, very good for intestinal health. But these are some recipes you can do even through the holidays when it's really cold like today. And you can start putting this stuff in your body on a regular basis. I think it's a really good place to start. Try it out. You'll like it. And it helps, again, with just that healing of the gut. You also have these 2 challenges in there, which are really big. And one is a beginner, one is an advanced. Now, the difference, they're both 30 days. The difference is with the beginner, you're going to start off your mornings with a shake. And you're going to kind of a lighter load on the colon to, again, let it heal up. And then you're going to be doing 2 advanced planned meals for that 30 days. The advanced is going to be kind of the next level. You're going to do like a 4-day fast, just smoothies, okay, just shakes, just put good nutrients in. You're going to be doing detox baths every night to kind of help, again, detox the body, relax the colon. They're magnesium baths. And then those last, like day 5 to day 28 or day 30, you're going to be doing a couple of smoothies, and then you're going to be doing 1 advanced planned meal. Now, that follows the book. Very easy. Get the book. Just do it from the book. It's the easiest way I can tell you. But if you do that, and it also has supplements that we're talking about that kind of feed into that plan and when to do them. I always get those questions, well, when should I do this one or this one? Follow it. I've laid it out the best that I could for you to make it just kind of turnkey, pretty easy to follow. So that's there for you. But shifting gears here, you could do all this awesome stuff, and it's a lot to it, but at the same time, I think we've made it pretty practical to follow in your packets. But if we do all this awesome stuff, but we forget to reconnect the brain to our body, do you see the problem with that? So we got to reconnect the brain to the body. We got to get the nervous system working well. And that's big because you can go, as great as food is, I don't know if you know this or not, if you're stranded on a desert island, you can actually go without food completely for about a month before you die. Do you know that? That's crazy. So if you just for future notice, if you ever are stranded on a desert island, you have about a month before you got to find some food in that month time. So as important as food is, it's not the most important nutrient that we need. Water is way more important than food. Why? You can't go as long without water. You can go a few days, but if you don't get water in your body in a couple of days, you're going to die, right? But think about breathing. One of the biggest nutrients that we don't do good is breathing. We don't breathe well. We breathe up here. We don't breathe our diaphragm. You just can only go a few minutes without air before you die, right? So it's actually more important than food and water put together. But if we you're on an operating table and the surgeon's in there and he's got a scalpel and he accidentally cuts the nerves that go to your heart in half, what happens to you pretty quick? Yeah, within seconds. So there's this hierarchy of needs to your body, and your nerves are at the forefront. You got to do it. You got to make sure that link is there. It runs everything. Check this out. Not just the colon, heart, lungs, liver. Now, different nerves from different parts of the body. Now, does this make sense too? Here's how we're structured. We are created to have protection. Your bones are there to protect your brain and your spinal cord. That's the only system encased in bone. Brain, totally protected by the skull. Spinal bones, totally protected. Now, they're a little different than the skull. These spinal bones have a big hole down them, all of them, to protect your spinal cord. That makes sense, right? And then the nerves that come out, we want to protect those, so there's a hole for the nerves that come out. So this has to make some common sense, especially if you're a guest. You should be in a certain position to have big holes, right? Nothing's getting crushed. So that's straight up and down. If you're looking at me, straight up and down from the front. Curves from the side. Neck, upper back, lower back. Do you know people don't know you need curves in your spine? I mean, I used to not know that years ago too. It's true. Curves, you need these from the side to balance and to protect your spinal cord. The problem happens, we subluxate our spines. We're really good at doing that. Now, I'm going to tell you just a quick, my story. I was very good at football as a place kicker and a punter. Yeah, I wasn't a linebacker. I was a punter, very small. But I had a terrible high school team, got out of high school. We were 0-10 my senior year, so we had nobody looking at us, right? We're terrible. But I got a full scholarship to go to Arkansas Pine Bluff. And it's, if you ever heard, most people don't know about that school, but if you follow Grambling or Southern, you know Pine Bluff, we play those teams every year. So it's Division I AA school. They call it FCS now, but I'm talking back in 99, 2000. So I played as a freshman, never redshirted, played all through my senior year, never missed a game. And I was really good at punting and place kicking. So I did this thing for hours. I was a righty, so I would for hours a day, thousands of hours in 10 years, I would place kick and work on that. That did something to my spine, the repetition, right? The repetition caused me to develop this 14-degree bend in my back. I had no idea this was going on. I played without pain because I didn't have pain. Had no clue that my spine was bending. What I did start noticing when I was a sophomore was that my digestion wasn't doing well. And I noticed that there would be some times I'd go a day without going to the bathroom. And I was pre-med at the time. I knew that wasn't a good thing. So I was working on nutrition, trying to eat a little bit better. By my junior year, it was 1 or 2 days between. And I'm like, that's not good. But by my senior year, though, and then I finished up a semester, it was like 3 to 4 days without going to the bathroom. And I was freaking out at that point. So I would take stuff to go to the bathroom because I didn't know any better. I knew that wasn't good. I knew I needed to get it out, right? I know, I'm giving you a lot of personal information, right? But that's what I did. I didn't know better, right? And I had no idea this was going on. And I had a microbiology teacher. He's like, because I told him I was actually complaining about my joints. I was 23 years old. Why am I complaining about my joints? But my knees hurt. I couldn't really punt. It hurt to punt a football. And at that point, I was trying out for NFL. That's a big deal, right? So I was freaking out. And so my microbiologist, he's like, go to this chiropractor, man. He's awesome. And I'm like, well, that's great, but my back's fine. Like I don't need to go because again, like a lot of people, I was pretty ignorant on that. I didn't know. So he's like, no, go try him out. Just go look. He's really good. He's gonna do it. He'll check your whole body. I'm like, okay, great. So I go in there. Put my knees are hurting. My knees are hurting. That's what I put on my. I didn't put anything else, right? I'm not gonna put that I have bad digestion on my intake form. What are you, nuts? I'm not gonna put that on there. So I didn't. But he takes full spine X-rays of me, and he sees that, and he marks it off as 14 degrees, and he shows me. He's like, yeah, I know why your knees are hurting you, but at the same time, you see all these crushed nerves right here? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, these nerves, they go to your digestive tract. Have you been seeing some issues with digestion lately? And I'm like, who are you? How do you know this, right? It just freaked me out. Well, he's like, simple. That's where they go. Guess where those nerves go? They go to the colon. If you're a guest, we have this sheet in there. It shows you literally all the nerves that come out of your spine. In that middle column is where they go. And on the right side are problems that you're probably going to be dealing with if the nerves are crushed. It's just simple. And I didn't know that. And so I'm like, well, how do we address this? How do we fix it, right? How do we do this? He goes, well, it's not happening all at once, right? Because I was like, that's going to hurt if we do this, right? So he's like, no, it's not. You can't do that. It's not going to work like that. He goes, but if we do the right rehab and the right adjusting, we can start to slowly bring you back and get pressure off. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm like, game on. Let's do this. Because I was at that point. I wanted to change. And so it didn't happen overnight with me. Actually took about 6 months. And he actually brought me to within about 3-4 degrees. So he improved me quite a bit. And I noticed that each week, it was a little bit better than that last week with digestion. And by about 6-7 months, I started noticing that I wasn't having to take anything to go to the bathroom. And I was starting to go every day. It was healing up. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. Like, I want to, how do I do this? How do I go to chiropractic school? Yeah, so that was a fun conversation with the medical director at my university. So I'm like, I'm not going to go into sports medicine. I want to do this because this changed my life. And I got yelled at, and I was told I was crazy. You're not going there. I'm like, yeah. So I ended up quitting that program and went to Parker College. So something that changed my life. And again, I didn't feel any problems. And that's the thing, like with this is a patient of mine, same thing, no back pain, but what you're looking at is an x-ray. Because again, if you don't feel this stuff, if you don't feel when those nerves are getting compressed, how do you tell? You have to be tested. And so one of the good ways, the first things you can do is check somebody's posture. That's a big indicator if they have a problem with their spine or not. And think about this. You should be symmetrical. That's how God designed us. And if you're not symmetrical, so if you have shoulders that are up, or I'm serious, it's so many people. You'll start seeing the head go to one side or the head cocked to one side. There are problems with the spine that's causing that abnormality. Shouldn't be doing that. The range of motion is great, and then you got to do this to turn. Big problem with the spine. And so many people deal with this. But we test for that. We do thermography. When nerves are crushed, they get hot, so we actually can see right away, yeah, that's an area that we need to take an x-ray of. But x-rays are the best way to find if some nerves are damaged, and that's what you're seeing here. This is a patient of mine. This is pretty recent, so again, pardon me if I'm in your way. Hopefully I'm not. These are like gigantic screens. But if you're looking behind this person. On the left is the first day in my office. On the right is 6 weeks later after corrective adjusting and rehab. So if you look behind, you're looking at him this way. The things I want you to notice, right here in his lower back, you're going to see a yellow line. That is actually where he should be. The red lines are where he is at. So there is an 11-degree bend in this guy's back, and his pelvis is twisted 6 degrees. All that compression in his lower back, again, where do those nerves go? Colon. You see all the black stuff on that x-ray? Do you know what that is? Blockage. You shouldn't see it on an x-ray. So physically, it's not, colon ain't working well. And so did we treat his colon? No. We focused on the spine. We focused on getting pressure off, reconnecting the brain to the body. He went from 11 degrees down to 3. Almost got him dead straight in 6 weeks. Pelvis went from 6 degrees down to 2. So something started happening during those 6 weeks. What did his body start doing? Healing. And if you look, do you see on that second x-ray, what is there a lot less of? Body's able to get rid of it. Chiropractic deals with way more than just back pain or neck pain, ladies and gentlemen. It deals with function and connecting your brain to your body. And if you're a guest, there's warning signs that this is going on right now in your spine, and you might not know it, but you need to be aware of it. Because if you address this, and if you look at your spine to be the solution here, it can change your life. It really can. We've seen it happen with so many of you that are patients. We've seen it happen. But the big signs that you got, and you have, if you're a guest, you have this health assessment form. Let me actually show you this thing. Hopefully you filled it out already, the top part. I'm going to tell you something right now. If you're circling 2 or 3 of these things, you need to look at your spine. If you're circling 5 or 6 of these things or more, I've had people circle all of them, you shouldn't look at your spine. You need to be getting checked when? Now. Because this stuff doesn't get better, it gets worse. So this is what we're going to do for you. You're going to put your name at the top, you're going to put your best contact number, and you're going to circle a time here at the bottom. We're going to do an exam on you for your spine. We're going to check you. And I've opened up my office. We're doing something really cool in our office the next week. We're doing a toy drive to Cowboy Santas in the office. So patients, this is big for you too. If you can, if you can donate, please donate. We're going to be a drop-off for Cowboy Santas this whole week. Bring in an unwrapped toy. If you don't know the Cowboy Santa program, it's parents can't afford Christmas for their children, and so the Cowboy Santa program really helps these needy families give a Christmas to their kids. So it's an awesome charity. We worked with them a couple times last year and this year, but bring a donation in. If you are a guest and you want to get your spine checked, I'm going to extend that same thing to you as well. If you bring in a $30 unwrapped new toy to donate, your exam, your x-rays, anything we have to do on your testing date is comped by me. Okay, it's a great way to help you and a great way to help kids too. So what you want to do is you want to take this and fill this out, circle your appointment time. We have some specific days here because Dr. Mitchell's going to be in Taiwan in between these visits. So we have some specific times and days to get yourself checked. If you notice, a lot of these times we are actually not open. We are closed. We're staying later or coming early to help. But whatever time you pick, select it. That is your time. Be committed to making it. That's the one thing I ask. We have no problem donating our time to help, but make sure you're committed to doing this because we don't want you taken from somebody else. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay. And as my team's coming up, they're going to walk up and they're going to get that from you. So hold it up, give it to them. They're going to give you a packet of paperwork. It's just patient paperwork. Fill that out ahead of time. When you come into the office, you don't have to fill it out in the office, so it saves you time. And they'll get right into getting your exam done right away. So as you're coming up, I want to mention a couple of these things. So we talked a lot about gut today, but with headaches, that is a big sign that there is not enough blood flow getting to the brain. Now, understand neurology here. The nerves in your neck regulate your blood flow. That's what these red things are that go through your neck bones, giving blood to your brain. So if your spine is out of position, if it's out of alignment, or if you've lost the curve in your neck, so many people have, I see that in 99 out of 100 people that have headaches is they've lost the curve in their neck completely, or it's reversing. And so something that we want to do is not treat headaches, but correct the problem. And I can tell you something, it is a very high success rate on headaches. I've had in 10 years, I'll be very upfront with you, in 10 years, I've probably seen a couple thousand people that have headaches. I've had 2 people in 10 years not get better with their headaches. 2. Almost always is coming from the spine. Cycle issues. My wife had a lot of endometriosis signs. When we were dating and stuff, she would take handfuls of Motrin at each cycle because it hurts so bad. Something we saw with my wife is that her spine is different. It's different than mine. So you've heard that term, like opposites attract. That's true. She's opposite of me completely, in the best way, But her spine and pelvis were torqued like this. And so, I mean, literally, it would be handfuls of Motrin for 2-3 days of her cycle because she just hurt so bad. She wouldn't go to work or school. Well, until we addressed this, she kept taking Motrin, but when we started taking pressure off and aligning her spine, she stopped having to take all that Motrin to where she was actually having normal cycles. And what's really cool is we have 2 little kids, and when you have issues with cycles, it can be very hard to get pregnant, much less carry full term. We were able to actually have 2 little awesome kids because I know for a fact is because we got her pelvis and her spine in the right alignment. But depression, high blood pressure, kind of the same area. We're looking at the top of the neck. That's typically where the problem is. Same thing with not sleeping well, but sciatica, radiculopathy, so stuff going down the arms and legs, understand that means it's been there for a long time, but that's going on. But that's a nerve problem. That's a nerve problem. Neck pain, dizziness, fatigue. Yes, do people come in our office with neck and back pain all the time? But what's so cool is when people come in, they just put that down, and after a month or 2, we do these progress evaluations to check people, and you know what people put a lot of times? Going to the bathroom better. Never put it on the original intake form, but they tell me in a month, hey man, does this help with going to the bathroom better? Yeah, I'm noticing that. Or sleeping better. I'm sleeping through the night. Those are things, because these are functions that improve because your brain regulates that. Reflux, again, asthma. For 20 years, I took asthma medications and breathing machines and albumin and inhalers for 20 stinking years. I still puffed on inhalers when I was playing ball in Pine Bluff. I could not go through this. They had all this cottonwood trees, and when those things would start to come down, I would go into asthma attacks. So I always had an inhaler, and I could not run without an inhaler. I couldn't do that stuff in college, right? When I was should be healthy, I couldn't do it. In getting my spine aligned, I saw the biggest change in my asthma. I mean, it's been since I was 23 years old since I've been on any medication for breathing or asthma or anything like that. No epinephrine, no nothing. And I swim, I cycle, and I run. I could not do this stuff in my 20s. What was the difference? It was neurologic. It was chiropractic. It was spine. And I'm passionate about that. So if you're a guest, let us help you, fill it out. Because I'm going to tell you something, and you know this right now. Look, I don't care that it's December 9th. Your headaches don't care that it's December 9th. You know, it doesn't care. You have to stop thinking like that. Don't wait till January 1st, because you know what? You might not get to January 1st. You need to start dealing with this stuff now. Don't try to come back from bad health. Start getting in front of it. Start being preventative. Start really getting healthy. I can't share that with you enough, especially in December. More people go to the hospital. More people get diagnosed with diseases, heart disease and cancer right now than any other time. It's not the time to take a break from your health. This is time to actually get more serious than ever about your health. So get serious. Let us help you. Secondly, again, patience. We have our outreach week. You can talk to your family, friends. We have a couple of days in here to do, again, a donation to Cowboy Santas. We will do an exam on them. Again, it's a win-win. In January, on the 27th, this is our next huge event. It's our ML seminar we're going to be doing, and it's going to be mind, body, and food. So it's going to be really okay, let's start 2018 off right, how we start implementing these new habits. And there's a lot of new information we're going to be presenting than we did last year, so I'm super excited about that. But write that down in your notes, because when we get back from the Christmas break and New Year's, we are going full-fledged into this, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm excited. If you've never been to a makeover, I'm actually changing the name, so pardon me when I say makeover. It's very hard for me not to say that. I've done that for 10 years. We're calling them ML seminars. So some things are going to be changing in the best way, but again, do not miss it. That is awesome. So yes, make sure you write that down as well. Check us out with our Facebook page. Once this is done being recorded and edited, we're going to put it on our Facebook page so you can re-watch it. So if you've been taking notes, I love you. You're awesome. But also know that you're going to also be able to watch this again and again and again. You can share with your friends. We always say, share with your friends. This stuff is free to everybody. We want to make sure you have access to it. I mean, like I said, it's a big deal to us.